Hey guys, it's Aych, and today I'm coming at you with a budget deck guide for a list that somewhat resembles my recent Ballista list, but doesn't include a lot of legendaries or even too many epics. So I think it would be manageable for a reasonably new player who's been playing for a little while, has gotten to rank 18 and 20 for the series and the decoy, and opened a few packs, cracked a few epics, maybe crafted a couple too. I think it would be reasonable for them to be able to start playing this list and start climbing the ranked ladder with it. And I think it would do you pretty well until at least rank 10. And by that point, you're gonna be getting more kegs from the ranked rewards, more scraps, lots of daily bonuses as well. You'll open a couple more legendaries, and you'll be getting one step closer to the real list. And I do think it can push you until maybe even rank 12 or 13. I haven't actually personally done that journey. I only have my main account, which is currently way above rank 15. And I don't quite have the time to climb all the way from the bottom to the top once again, but I think you should be able to get to at least rank 10, but maybe even rank 12 or 13 with this deck. So let's have a look at this deck, and the bronzes are exactly the same as in the Ballista list. The guide and deck list I'll have in the description box down below. We have trebuchets, ballistas, Reaver Scouts, blue stripes, lots of medics, a Manticore Venom for all the hen cells running around, and it's good with ballistas to pick off other things too, such as behemoths, and a first light in case of weather, and for just a little bit of thinning. The main differences come from the gold slots. So we have the shiny, which along with the Priscilla and the Nenekir are essentially the Northern Realms epic trifecta. You should craft these cards first if you're planning on playing Northern Realms. They're amazing, they work extremely well together. You can revive Priscilla, get a Nenekir, revive a Reaver Scout, get them. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling to execute a medic chain. You don't always get to do it, but it's so fun. So these are the cards that provide versatility and a lot of power to the deck as well. So you want these. So then we have the Siri and the Decoy, which you get from just leveling up. You get the Siri at level 18, and you get the Decoy at level 20. And the Decoy can be used on Nenekir, it can be used on Priscilla, it can be used on Reaver Scouts, your medics as well. The additional benefit with using it on Reaver Scouts or medics is hero power. It adds to their strength without making it so much that it is scorchable or igniable, and thus you get a little bit more juice out of your leader ability. So then we have some differences to the normal deck. So Stennis, I wasn't running before. I am actually kind of experimenting with Stennis over Roach in my original list. A lot of meta decks are starting to run 2 or 3 pieces of card advantage. Usually 2, but sometimes they say 3. And you want to counter that card advantage with your card advantage. And it's not so much that you can counter that card advantage with just no card advantage raw power. So you do need some card advantage in this deck, and that's provided by the Siri and the Stennis. We also have Cleaver as a budget replacement for Cyprian. I can't really tell you to spend 200 scraps on Cyprian rather than crafting a very important legendary for this deck. So, and Cleaver is a worthwhile replacement. It acts as pretty much the same thing against Neckers. It stops them from spawning more. It's even better against things like Vrans, Behemoths, even Siege Towers. And it's just a very versatile card that you can even revive or decoy if you need to. Then we have the one questionable consideration about this deck is the King of Beggars, which is a legendary, and it's pretty important for this deck. You can play it without him, but he just makes the deck so much more consistent by allowing you to pull out your Reaver Scouts or your Priscilla. Essentially, the thinning in this deck is done by multiple applications of King of Beggars or Priscilla, and when you draw neither of them, you usually have a pretty mediocre time. So you want to run both. And for that, unfortunately, you have to craft King of Beggars. But he's the best legendary in the game. He goes into pretty much any deck. So I think it's a reasonable first craft. And if you don't have him yet, I would recommend running something like a Scorch. Scorch is always good. Dimeritium Bomb if you're seeing a lot of Hansels and Consume, which sounds reasonable at low ranks. Dandelion can be cool too. You can revive him with Neneke and Shani, and he just gives you a lot of power, although it does overlap a little bit with Stress Butterfly. Or any other silvers you like. Odrin, I've seen people running that. You can run Cyprian and Cleaver. Maybe a little bit overkill, but I think it's fine. Thala is also an extremely underrated card. Redrawing up to one card is actually pretty good, especially late in the game. Allows you to get even more thinning, which this deck is a little bit lacking in. And then we have the golds. So normally the deck runs Yennefer, which is an 11 strength gold that also either adds or subtracts from all the units on both sides to power, which can be extremely powerful as this deck puts out a lot of units and you usually have a lot more units than your opponent, and you can get something like 20 power with this Yennefer. The replacement for this is a Triss Butterfly spell. It essentially does the same thing, but only if you draw her in round 1. So she's a little bit of a downgrade, but she's still very powerful, she's hard to control, and she doesn't add the strength to your opponent's units, which is always nice. If you draw her in round 1, it's great. Drawing her later is a little bit questionable, especially without Roach, but she's still sufficiently powerful, and she's one of the better epics. Turns out Northern Realms doesn't have a lot of options for gold epics. It's either running that or running another bronze, which is bad. And I don't want to tell you to craft John Natalis. Like, look at him. Like, even the horse is, like, asleep. Is so bored about this mediocre card. Anyway, and then we have Vanilla Geralt. Yeah, slice those neckers. That's not actually like anything to do with his power. It doesn't actually kill neckers. Like really, like Cleaver and Vanilla Geralt art should be swapped. So like Cleaver slicing neckers and Geralt just sitting there doing nothing. It's like, oh hey, I'm a 12 strength gold. What about it? So yes, Geralt is a... I'm not gonna say he's a good card, but there are no other good legendary, non-legendary golds that you can run, and you get Geralt for free, so I don't have to tell you to craft anything. He is replacing Bloody Baron, which usually just acts as a Geralt, because you spawn the Bloody Baron, you spawn the Lubberkin, and it gets killed with something. Like Analysis Thunder. In that case, he's essentially a 13+2 for the Northern Realms passive, so 15-point gold, and Geralt is a 14-point gold. It's pretty close. And he can just be good. He's good tempo. Yeah, tempo is a concept. But if you have, like, any other... if you've unkegged a neutral legendary, if you've unkegged a Geralt Igni, if you've unkegged a Regis, if you unkegged a Yennefer or a Baron, maybe his an Animal Tamer even. Vernon Roach is pretty good. He can kill 6 strength units with the help of your trebuchets, and there's a lot of 6 strength units you want to kill. Triss, nice too, can kill Siege Towers, can kill Axemen. So if you've unkegged any of those, feel free to run them, but Geralt is a worthwhile replacement. For now. And just a little bit about going up from here. The first thing you want to do is replace Geralt with one of the options, preferably Yennefer, and then get rid of Triss Butterfly for a Baron, or something along those lines, and then think about working towards either Cyprian Wily or a Roach to replace one of the silvers. Probably Stennis, but depending on what you're seeing in the metagame. So, let's look at some gameplay. I think I've talked enough. So I'm trying out a budget Foltest list, which I've come up with. As you can see, it's quite budget. It's running Vanilla Geralt and Cleaver instead of Cyprian and a bunch of other concessions, but I think it can still do really well until up to about rank 12, 13. I'm trying some casual games right now to be better representative of the rank 10 to 13 meta, and I don't think this list is quite good enough to compete at over 4k MMR, but I guess you can try it out and find out. So here we do want to keep a field medic because we're playing against Scoia'tael. Scoia'tael has removal. Removal makes us very sad. We'll mulligan the first slate. Can always use that later. And because we are not running Roach, we are free to do a third mulligan, which in this case shall be Cleaver. Cleaver is not very good against Scoia'tael. And we draw our Vanilla Geralt, the star of this deck. Perfect. Let's move our opponent's deck list over here. So this deck is only really running 4 or 5 epics and a legendary. The legendary is King of Beggars. I've tried the deck without the King of Beggars, but it just seems so underwhelming. You really do need either King of Beggars or Priscilla, and having 2 copies of those very important cards is much more important. It is very important, but as you can see here, we have neither. But we're gonna try to win without them anyway. So here we could buff up the Trebuchet, or we could just copy it and consider that Scorch bait. I'm gonna buff it up, I'm gonna play it safe. Regroup. Of course, these blue threads can be used on Reaver Scouts with Foltest. But we're also interested to see what kind of list he's running. The Hidden Roach Francesca variant has been getting a lot of popularity lately. Even though I do think it is a Aych strategy, it can be deceptively powerful. Here we're just playing out our tempo. This is going to be a long round, as every round is. Every first round is in Gwent right now. So we want to play that. Now, we can res that. It does open us up to the possibility of another Scorch if he has a Glace or Nature's Gift. But we can somewhat assume that he doesn't have a Glace. Just because a Glace is going to be bad for us regardless, whether he does have Scorch or doesn't. And if he uses it now, it's not as bad as, say, using it a little later. So here, that might be a Teruvio, might be a Ciaran. We don't really know. We do want to decrease the strength of a potential Teruvio right now, though. Ooh, Saskia. I wonder what that means on the Teruvio Ciaran Bamboozle plan. So if that's a Teruvio, it could have been buffed once, it could have been buffed 0 times. So at most, it is generating 14 points of value right now, 12 if you count that Trebuchets are not really allowing it to generate all of its value. So we can just play Vanilla Geralt here and get ahead of the Teruvio. Other options include decoying the Reaver Scout to get another Trebuchet. It's like, ah, Vanilla Geralt, new card. Oh, he's pretty cool. You get the premium one in the closed beta. And usually it's the people's first premium. But for this deck you also have to craft premium shiny. Even though this is a budget list, premium shiny is strictly better than normal shiny and becomes even better than it already is in Northern Realms. Just trust me. Trust me on this. So one thing we can do with Francesca is if we take this around really long, the Francesca hero power doesn't really do anything for our opponent. So what did he take back? That was the horse dude. What's the horse dude? Horse dude. Anyway, the neophyte spawner. That's what he took back, and he got us back our trebuchet. So he's getting a little bit of value on that, but that's fine. Once again, let's consider the buffed Teruvio. This would be a 12-point swing right now, so we can play trebuchet and stay ahead because of the pings.
I was hoping you'd say that.
He's still trying to put more Neophytes on this row, next to the reveal. But that's not really working out for him. Also, if he wanted to do that, he should have probably put Saskia on the other side, so that if Neophytes would spawn, they would spawn next to here, and then you could buff... if two Neophytes happen to spawn, whichever way that would happen, he could buff both of them. So now we're running out of options somewhat, but we can still decoy the Reaver Scout and get another Trebuchet, I believe. We're not really fearing the Iglace, he would have used it before on the double Trebuchet. Unless this is a very cunning play, making us set this up again for an Iglace. Okay, so... we don't really know what these things are. One of them is probably a Teruvial, one of them is a CRN. And I think our opponent is running out of options. He's played 2 golds. He doesn't have an Aglace. He could still have... and he doesn't have an Isengrim, he wouldn't play it earlier. He could still have something like a Yorveth. But if we pass here, it's likely that he would need 2 cards to beat us. Not like completely certain, but likely. Because we have these Trebuchets going, so he needs to have a 10-point play, because this is most likely a CRN. So he needs to have a 10-point play. And that was a great pass, turns out. Because it's always good when you pass and your opponent passes. Because they could have just passed the previous turn and would have been 1 more card up than they are now. And they are not. So he doesn't have a Milva. So just playing a Ciri is fine here. The reason to not play the Ciri was because Milva would get a Roach and get him some card advantage. Here we have the great CRNing. Do we play this guy now? We can't really get rid of it. This does give him an opportunity to use his Francesca, but if he uses his Francesca, we'll get the CRN back and we'll get card advantage. But is that important? Yeah, I think it is pretty important. Let's go. CRN. I mean, it's unfortunate that we don't have a way to get rid of it. A consideration would be Shackles. Unfortunate. So we're not getting the complete card advantage back with this Ciri. But we do have some good cards in hand. We're gonna Venom. We want to waste this Venom because he's unlikely to have a lot of units stacking up on the same rows. So he's got 2 CRNs right now and the Roach from Milva. I think in this situation we do want to force him to use his Francesca in this situation. We are setting up a little bit for a Scorch, but I think we're fine. Oh, he has an Archer. So he doesn't have... yeah, well, where is his... Yeah, his Roach is in the graveyard, my bad. So he has 2 CRs in hand and something else. So if we copy this Field Medic, depending on his other card, he might not be able to beat us and he'll be forced to Francesca. Which means, if he Francescas now, he might draw one of his stupid CRNs at some point. Also, forcing out this whole Aglace thing is not actually that bad for us. Ooh, interesting. So can we beat that? What do we still have? We have another Field Medic, so we can actually do a lot of like economy damage if we go Neneke
Are you wounded again?
Into our buffed Reaver Scout.
I told you so, you idiot.
Into a Field Medic. Into whatever fate decides into a trebuchet, sure. And now he's gonna have to Francesca. He doesn't have any golds left, so he might have to play both cards. That would be amazing. But he'll have to play at least one. And we'll have a lot of card advantage going into the last round with the CRN, and a lot of power with the Shiny. So, let's go see what happens. Another option would be to try to win here, but the cards he's drawing are quite good, and he has to use both of them. So we could have won here. We could have won. But I think being a CRN and the Shiny up in the last round is pretty much going to guarantee our win anyway. Yeah, is this a draw actually? The CRN flip and make it a draw. Ah yes, perfect. Exactly as was planned. Hidden Roach, usurped by Vanilla Geralt. I think this is perfection. Still playing budget Foltest. This time we're playing against a Gales who is around rank 13. So hopefully we can showcase this power at that rank. I do think this deck can do you quite well until those ranks end. As you rise up the ranks, you're gonna get more kegs. You're gonna open more legendaries. You're gonna improve this and other decks you have. Field Medic is the first mulligan. Monsters don't really have a lot of ways to kill our things. We're assuming this is a consume list, so ballistas are a little bit more important than trebuchets. And now we can just mulligan the third ballista because we have so many ways. We have the 2 Reaver Scouts and our Foltest, and a decoy and the King of Beggars to get more stuff. So I think we're fine. Also, our opponent isn't too happy right now. He got unlucky on his mulligan and he drew 2 crones. Unless this is the 2 crone bamboozle, where the whole game you think they have another crone, but they don't. Unless you're a lunatic, essentially. He has a crone in hand. I'm gonna assume it's this card. Could still be this card. There's an Arrakis Behemoth. This is one of the reasons we have ballistas in this deck. To kill this Arrakis Behemoth. Specifically this one, not any other one. Specifically this Arrakis Behemoth. Also for consume, generally they want to play their Vrans first before the Arrakises. Look, a Necker. Now we have to... we're at a dilemma. We don't have our Cleaver. And we can kill either the Neckers or the Arrakis Behemoth. I think I'm going to try to kill the Neckers. Galsless rarely, or should I say, less frequently run Necker Warriors to actually double up those Neckers, and if they do, they usually run 1. And so, killing these Neckers early is pretty important, and he's, that's a Karen. That's a single Arrakis. What is our opponent doing? I guess this is what you get in casual. We can still probably win in 2 cards. Geralt is a 14. That's why we have Geralt here, so we can always win with 2 cards. And with something like a Reaver Scout, we are fine. He was so afraid for his Neckers that he decided this was the only correct play. But I have doubts that it was the correct play in any shape, form, or universe. Geralt Igni. I think that is still fine. We'll go get a Priscilla, hopefully get a Medic, maybe we'll get a Cleaver as well, to lock down the Necker. Both are good options. Reinforced Trebuchet isn't a good option, but Medic is. Medic is nice. I always said Medica, like Nenike is the best Medica in the land. What did he eat? He ate his very unfortunate Necker. So it doesn't look like he has Necker Warriors, so I don't think he's gonna have Neckers for the last round. Because if he had Necker Warriors, he should have played it by now, so it would have been buffed by all these consumption. Continuing on, he's most likely going to win this round, just because of the guild's hero power. It scales with the round length, but we can still go on. He's used his Igni, so we can buff these guys. We can buff our Reaver Scouts, and then copy Reinforced Trebuchets. We can actually like be quite greedy because he used his Igni. Like very greedy. Greedy. Very, very greedy. The greed is... greed is good, as they say. What did he eat? He had a treb. Whatever. We have more where that came from. So I do think we're going for ultimate greed mode, just to hopefully outpower him, and hopefully he has some very awkward cards in his hand. It seems like his draw is awkward. He still has another Crone, maybe an Arrakis or something. I don't know why he has one Arrakis in his deck. Maybe it's a metagame call. Maybe it's like very useful for Karen because you need more Arrakises to eat with him. No fucking clue. Let's go for a blue stripe scout and power up our great Foltest. Now we can even win with our great Foltest. We do have two kind of dead cards in hand in the Shani and the Stennis, but we do want to bleed him out, as I said, the girl's power is quite good, and now we have no reason not to copy the Reaver Scout, and I believe the choice between Trebuchet and Ballista is interesting, but Ballista is probably better because we can decrease his keep if he chooses to pass here. How awkward is this? Pretty awkward. Let's play our Gigni. Or rather, Geralt himself without the Igni. Geralt slicing motion. My favorite type of Geralt. Ooh, see? This is what he's doing to this Necker. This Necker, and this Necker. And the Necker that's about to come out. We should probably pass so as not to keep our opponent waiting. He only has one Necker, because we already got rid of two. So this round we want to play Stennis, we want to play Triss Butterfly because she's not going to be very useful in the last round, and then we want to pass. Well, depending on what we draw with Stennis. Let's see what we get. If it's something really bad... Ah! Ciri! I was gonna say if it's something really bad, we should probably play it this round. But Ciri is something really good, and we should still play her this round, for infinite card advantage. We don't want him to keep this Grand Warrior, although we can just and we can't just pass now because we have to play this Ciri. He has a Shackles. Why do people run Shackles? Like this has always escaped me. We're gonna buff up and then give us an extra round. We're still gonna be even on cards, which is fine as long as he doesn't have like something amazing of a keep. Like what's he gonna get here? Sure, Priscilla. So now we have the option of playing Shani on Enneke, but then he might have the option of passing. If he passes, I don't think he can win. What does our, So our King of Beggars does fetch us a Field Medic, which is pretty good. Like, we know one of these two cards is a Crone, and another one is possibly a Grave Hag or something along those lines, so it's good to force out another card of him. Also, we don't want him to keep the 14. King of Beggars. Medic Chain. The one reason to not do this is to save our medics in our deck to hopefully draw them in the last round and be able to pull them with King of Beggars as well. Or Reaver Scouts, we get off our medics, but this is probably better, especially if he has to play another card like a Crone! Hooray! I am so happy right now. He is keeping a 6. We have a shiny. Series locked, but no matter. We are. This is perfection. Perfection. He could like play his, if that's an Ekimara, he would probably play the Ekimara, eat the Vran and keep it. Fortunately, that wasn't an Ekimara. Otherwise, he probably would have played it instead of this Grime. So yeah, we did get we drew our medic. I'm not sure if that's lucky or unlucky. It's lucky because we have to use this shiny for something that kills that Grave Hag. And you know what that's gonna be? That's gonna be a Ballista. And hopefully this gives us the win. He has to make up 5 points plus field medic value. And he doesn't have anything to do that with. Interesting, interesting. Yeah, I don't like the look of this either. Or rather, I do. Like, winning... I like the look of winning. Like, it's so blue. Victory. Okay, so we're continuing to play against, or rather with, the Budgest Foltest list. We're facing a Foltest right now at quite low MMR, so we'll see what we can do against him and see whether he's running an optimized deck or a suboptimal one. Let's mulligan a Ballista. This is casual, of course. I don't think this list actually works at over 4k, because it just simply doesn't have the huge power cards like the Yennefer, the Baron. That you really need to push those extra points. So we have 2 more mulligans available. I think this is actually fine. Like, we could try to get more silvers and golds, but we already have like our important bronzes. We could consider getting rid of a field medic, but if this guy is net decking me, he's gonna be running ballistas and he's gonna be probably killing things. So let's rely on that. Let's rely on my large ego. So here we can probably just get another one. We're looking to set up good Manticore Venom here. We want to kill as many things as possible. And it's getting to that point. I do believe we're gonna just get another Trebuchet. They're damaged, they're unlikely to be ignited, unless he's really lucky with his Trebuchets. So he's also going for the trebuchets, he wants the round to go long, we want the round to go long, everyone wants the round to go long. So we might be able to kill his trebuchets here, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna Manticore Venom his trebuchets. He does have the ability to get them back with medics, but we're essentially killing free. This one's gonna die very soon to one of these pings. This is actually like one of the only matchups where going first can actually be a little bit of an advantage. Still not that good. Like, you'd still rather go second and get the card advantage. But going first is honestly not that bad. And same with passing here. It didn't hit the trebuchet, but we're still okay to pass here. He has to... so he's hitting for 1, then we'll hit for 3, and we'll probably kill that. So he has to play something quite large here. Stennis is large, but on the wrong side. We're actually really happy about this, because we do have a Neneke to get back the Stennis, and if we want to get card advantage that way in the next round, we might not have other card advantage options. Still don't know what type of Foltest deck he's playing. He could still be playing Ballistas, or just lots of blue stripes and a little bit more removal first lights. And we win the round 1 card down. And one of his cards is Siri, which is not, like, an excessively good card. So, what do we have in our deck? We still have a Stennis. This deck tracker is bugged. We do still have a Stennis in the deck. One consideration here is to thin the deck before Stennising. And the way to do that is either via Priscilla, but then we'll look at the same logic. And with that logic, we find that we can just do Stennis or Priscilla in an arbitrary order. Essentially, it doesn't matter that much. Priscilla can't get golds, but that's so minuscule. So we're just gonna Neneki here for the Stennis, hoping to draw something good. Field Medic is good, but we can probably do better. Is this better? Ballista is still fine. We would rather keep a Field Medic in our deck, just so any stray Reaver Scouts that pop up can pull as another Medic and start a great Medic chain in round 3. Now we are going to Priscilla here, but not King of Beggars. Priscilla just for another chance at our very own Stennis. And we don't really mind like playing bad cards, exactly. Priscilla, first late, could do something, but we would rather get something else. Getting a Reaver Scout out of our deck is not actually that bad. So he's using medics. This could mean a bunch of things. It could mean his hand is pretty good. It could mean he's just misplaying. Who knows? Most likely though, because he's using a medic and not something of a lower strength value, his hand is pretty good. So we want to use our cards that don't really do much in the last round, and in this case these are the Ballistas. They don't do much in the sense that they are lower in strength than anything else we can put out. He's thinning, whatever. We'll play another Ballista and I think we'll pass after this, because we have a good setup, we have some medics, we have a King of Beggars to get either a medic or a Blue Stripe Scout. And we have, of course, Geralt. Cut up those knickers, you Geralt. Yeah, in this deck, the Geralt is definitely more of a placeholder than anything else. Just because if you open another legendary, such as a Geralt Igni, a Baron, a Yennefer, the real Yennefer, not Yennefer the Conjurer, you can easily replace Geralt with that and have a much better deck. But I do want to give this as a general guide, and I do only want to have one legendary in that, and that's the almost required King of Beggars. So we pull a Reaver Scout, the buffed one, pretty lucky. Start the medic chain, hoping not to pull another Reaver Scout, and we pull a Ballista. Oh, a Trebuchet. That's good. So if this Dandelion gets hit a couple of times, we might be able to Ballista it. This is one reason, by the way, to make a round 2 go longer. The fact that he has Dandelion, it scales with the length of the round. So it's gonna give him quite a few points. But we'll see how that works out for him. We're gonna go for another medic. Ballista's pretty good. We can try to kill this Dandelion, or we can try to remove Foltest power. If that was his only Foltest target left, which is extremely unlikely. Ah, hey, there's another Foltest target. So with this King of Beggars, we're actually pretty happy with getting another Blue Stripe Scout. Just because it essentially buffs twice. It buffs the medic and it buffs the copy as well. Because we're gonna copy this medic. Which doesn't play around Igni, but we'll see, we'll see. Yeah. He might not even have Igni. Like, look at this. We'll still copy the medic, rather than the Reaver Scout. It could pull another Reaver Scout, and then we'd get a blue Trebs. Or it could pull a Trebuchet, which is pretty good. Yennefer, pretty good for our opponent, but not actually that amazing. Like, it's not that much better than Vadilla Geralt. Let's just say that. And it's taking power away from his Foltest, so he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. I had 9 units, so it is like a how many? A 6-point swing in addition to the Yennefer, but because he's copying, it's more like a 4-point swing, so 15 in total. So it's not that actually that good a card. Like, look, Geralt is almost as good, but I think the first thing we want to do is get back our friend. And our friend is called Priscilla. She's a cool gal. And she's gonna get us something that isn't a Stennis. Sure. Blue Stripes. And the row that could get, like, none of these rows could get Igni. I'm just gonna buff this. First light. Our opponent Scud is not very good. And I do think we win this unless this something crazy goes on right over here. We do have 2 golds. And he's only how many points ahead? Oh, okay, he's 9 points ahead. So we'll play the 8. But we do have these 2 trebuchets going. So they're pretty good. We play the 8. And our opponent is probably going to copy a medic, I'm assuming. What can he get with that? He can get a trebuchet, for example. Which would be pretty good. It might... trebuchets doesn't win him the round. A Reaver Scout that can't really get him anything, like look at all these 3-0s. But if he does get a trebuchet, that's a 14-point swing. He decides it's better to copy one of these, put him a little bit ahead for the guaranteed value. He's hoping we don't have something valuable. He's assuming if we had something like a Yennefer we would have played earlier. But we have Geralt, and he deals the finishing blow. Finishing blow, over here. Right here. So we win by 5 points against a deck, like, this is a an optimized list. He just didn't draw his King of Daggers and 2 of his golds. But everything else looks optimized. He's running Roach, he's running Yennefer, lots of legendaries. And I'm glad this deck can beat a very optimized Foltest list that people spent a lot more money on than I did on this one. So, those were some fun games, and I believe this is a fun deck to play until at least rank 10, and maybe even a little bit higher, but by that point you should have opened a few kegs, gotten a few legendaries, and there's a clear upgrade path for this deck to the non-budget version. The guides to both are in the description below. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, or feel free to contact me on Twitter at Gwent, or on Discord at Aych. Always happy to chat about Gwent and especially help new players. Like, subscribe, and this is Aych saying goodbye.